Hey folks, Nick here from Another BookTube channel, and today I will be reacting to one-star reviews of books that I love. I've done this once before. I think it's a pretty common thing for booktubers to do, and it's always fun. Look, enjoyment of any piece of media, of any piece of art, is entirely subjective. Whether you're talking about things that are listed as the greatest books of all time, movies of all time, paintings of all time, etc., there's always thousands, millions maybe even, of people who see that thing or read that thing and they go, that sucked. Like, that wasn't any good at all. And that's fine. We all have different human experiences. We all bring different experiences to everything that we encounter, backgrounds and education levels and things like that that can contribute to the way that you respond to a work. And I'm not saying that I'm smarter than any of these people. They might be much smarter than I am. They just had different human experiences leading up to the time when they read these books, and it just didn't work out for them. That being said, the intention of this video is to be like cheekily entertaining and to, push back on these reviews a bit, but not to like belittle anyone or hurt anyone's feelings. It's all in good fun. So let's start off with a book that is genuinely one of my favorites of all time, Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Okay, Adam Sarnecki writes, I'm getting all of these from Goodreads, by the way. Goodreads, known for being the absolute authority. Like, the user reviews there, can't go wrong there. Everyone there knows what they're talking about. So this Adam Sarnecki says of Something Wicked This Way Comes, I must have missed something. This book did not disturb or horrify me at all. It reads as something written by a pretentious snob. I managed to finish it, congratulations, begrudgingly. I just didn't understand half of it. The metaphors were just over the top and unnecessary. I do not see how this is considered something worth reading, let alone one of the best 100 novels of all time. The main takeaway I get from this review is just the dangers of genre classification, because not every book fits snugly into a genre. I have seen Something Wicked This Way Comes classified as horror. I have seen it classified as sci-fi. I don't know that it falls firmly into either of those categories. It is more magical realism to me, with some aspects that could be considered horror, that could be considered fantasy. And that is where this problem comes in. So this guy, Adam, has obviously heard this book is one of the best horror novels of all time. And I would agree with him. It's not. It's not a horror novel, and it's not a disturbing book, but it is one that does, if you meet it at its level, it does make you feel a lot of things. This is a book about getting older. It's about childhood and the loss of innocence, the growing into adulthood. It's about being an adult and wishing you were still a child. Like, it's those emotions that it's about. It's not really about the carnival. The carnival is just a vessel for Bradbury to kind of tell this story. To me, it is absolutely one of the best 100 novels of all time. And I say that not having read a lot of the novels that are probably on such a list. But yeah, metaphors being over the top and unnecessary, that's a common one that comes up. The metaphors are what it's all about, man. That's Bradbury flexing and being like, I bet you felt this and you didn't even know you felt this. I wrote it better than you felt it, baby. That's a quote from Ray Bradbury, by the way. Let's get another one. Pat Fromm writes, okay, so Bradbury can write. And he knows he can write. Yeah, he does. And if he used his talent for description and turns a phrase sparingly, this book may have been perfect. But, bro, why is every single sentence is purple prose? Dude cannot even tolerate describing a character walking down the street without commenting on the ebullience of youthful shoelaces or the cricky crack of the dusk sky, or, whatever. Frequently, the description or action gets lost in the layers of metaphor that Bradbury is applying until you truly have no idea what he is talking about, and you're not really interested in returning to find out. My dude, those attention to details, those details is what that's the entire point of the book. That's what the whole book is about. It's about how, as we grow older, those little pieces of magic that we experience daily as children become commonplace, and we overlook them, and they just become boring just by exposure to them, and just how adulthood rips that magic out of us. But they are still magic. If you pay attention to them, it's beautiful. Sometimes, watch like my niece and nephews play. They play football together, and they're all cursing at each other because they're all demented. But there's like those perfect moments of just like they're just being kids, and it's just like that's what it's all about. It's good. It's good. And this book is about pointing out that like things can be good if you took the time to just think about it and notice it and absorb it. It's not always about the story. And I agree, the story isn't the strongest, but it's those feelings that's the whole purpose of the book. And Heidi here says similar. Well, turns out I can't stand Ray Bradbury's style of writing. Who knew? I certainly didn't. This book has plenty of atmosphere, but not a lot happens, and the constant barrage of pompous, impenetrable metaphors often detracts from the story. It's all frosting and no cake. A lot of these reviews that I flip through are calling the metaphors and everything impenetrable or just very hard to follow. And to me, it telegraphs that none of these people read this book with any whimsy in their heart. These people were not willing to meet it at the emotional level. They only wanted to engage at the story level. And admittedly, yes, the story is weak, in my opinion, as well. But it's not what it's about. It's still a 10 out of 10 book for me, even with a story that is secondary, in my opinion. All right, so I wanted to include at least one comic or graphic novel on this list. So I'm going to look up Clyde fans' reviews. Let's take a look at what we've got. I've tried looking up comic reviews in the past on Goodreads. It's tricky because not a lot of people leave one-star reviews on comics on Goodreads. Usually, if they're leaving a review, it's because they like it. So it's a little trickier. Also, in general, there's fewer reviews on comics on this website. This one really doesn't make sense to me, though. 1 star from Bonnie. DNF, racist. It is a hard no for me. 0 stars. What? I read this whole book. I read every page of it. I like to think I'm a pretty sensitive guy. I'm a liberal guy, and I am usually pretty good. Like, I'm on the lookout for stuff that's like, ooh, that didn't age well, stuff like that. I can't remember any single thing from this book that can be conceived as racist. I genuinely can't. I don't think that there's even a black character in it. Perhaps that's why. Like, there's just a lack of representation because it's just white dudes. The only thing I could think here, you know what? This is probably what they're talking about. So one of the characters collects like random knickknacks and dolls, like junk novelties, and one of them is like African coded, like that. That is the only thing I could think of. And like he has imaginary conversations with it. But we don't actually hear like the toys side of things. So it's not like there's like a generic African accent. It's just the look of the doll. That has to be it. And to deride this entire incredibly powerful character study graphic novel, probably going to be one of my favorite books of the year, for that, I don't know. That ain't it, Chief. That's a little too sensitive in my opinion. I think you just have to kind of accept that a story set in the 50s, by the way, might occasionally have something in there that's a little unsavory by 2025 standards. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. And if it's not that, then please somebody tell me in the comments what the hell is racist in that book, because it's lost on me. Garrett has more of a more detailed 1-star review. If you like non-narrative comics about boring people with no plot and no character development and a kind of neat but simple art, you may want to flip through this for 60 seconds, but you still won't want to read the whole thing. Well, I disagree very strongly with that, Garrett. Yeah, it's non-narrative in that there's no real plot. It is a character study. It is about two brothers who run their family fan store, and one of them is an extrovert, one of them is an introvert, and they don't get along at all. I guess technically the characters don't like arc that much, but the way that the story is told, jumping around in the timeline, our perception of the characters changes so much that it feels like character development. That's like kind of the stand-in for it, where you think a character is one way, and then as the story goes on, you learn that, oh, they're actually like this colors the previous iteration of them. So like that's really the development of it. That's the what the story is aiming for. I don't know that I would say that there's really no character development, and I think you absolutely will want to read the whole thing. If you dig alternative comics, then there's no reason you wouldn't enjoy this book. It's terrific. Let's move back onto prose. I want to look up reviews of Rebecca. All right, so Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is my edition. I made my own binding of it, with a nice little dust jacket. Let me show this off a little bit, because I like this book enough to make my own special edition of it. So here's the front cover and back cover, same design. And also check out these end papers. I love these end papers. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that nice? All right, so I really enjoyed Rebecca. I don't know that I would call it one of my like favorite books of all time, but it's really well written, and it's a great story, and the movie's great too. I wonder if these people would like the movie more. All right, let's see what Don Michelle has to say. I read this at some point when I lived in New York, 1991 to 1997, but I don't remember the exact date. OMG, I hated this book. I hated everything about it. Even now when people talk about it, I shudder. Ugh, I am so glad I never have to read this again. The only reason I pointed this one out is just because, like, Dawn Michelle, I'm sorry, but your review is completely invalid. I only accept reviews from people who can timestamp the exact moment that they finished a book. Otherwise, how do I even really know that you read it? You know? Ruby Porter says, the whole books is just descriptions of flowers and a house. This is one of the best reviews I've ever read. The whole books is just descriptions of flowers and a house. I mean, it's not, but I love that. I love that. I'm not even going to fight you, Ruby. You got style. I like that. I like that has 9 likes as well. 9 other people were like, yeah, I agree. All right, Allison. All right, this is a bit of a longer one, but I like this one. It's actually a 1.5 star review, technically. This was so boring and repetitive. I kept waiting for it to get better, and it never did. The only thing I liked about this was the gothic atmosphere. Fair, it's a great gothic novel. Excellent, one of the best. Here is a list of different things I had a problem with. The main male character was a 42-year-old creep and predator. The number of times he degraded her was disgusting. It was stated multiple times that the FMC, that's female main character, if you don't know, was very young and a child. There is nothing romantic about them. TikTok lied to me again. Yes, TikTok is always lying to you. Stop listening to TikTok. The reason Maxim wanted the FMC was because she was young and dumb. He literally says it. It's a pity you have to grow up. Ew. The FMC was so desperate for him that it was sad. I thought we would get growth from her character, but in the end, she was still pathetic and couldn't stand up for herself. Was the plot twist supposed to be a surprise? I thought it was obvious. It felt like nothing was happening the whole time. Every day was the same. The FMC walks around never knowing where to go. People compare her to Rebecca, and the FMC feels sorry for herself. The reason I like this review is because I don't necessarily disagree with any of it. I agree 100% that the relationship between Maxim and the new Mrs. De Winter is very problematic. Yes, everything that she says that he says, that it's a pity you have to grow up. Like, I read that and I gagged a little bit. Like, This is definitely a product of its time when I think these age gap romances were a bit more common. You know, like in the early 20th century, like that was still like pretty common. But yeah, like I think that they are they are not a very good romantic couple together. And I don't necessarily like them together. Um, However, I do think that they do have a bond that strengthens over the course of the novel if you're able to get through those layers of creepiness. And I do think that, like, yeah, what you say, it's a bit repetitive. People compare her to Rebecca all the time. She doesn't know what to do, where to go. Um, yeah, it does. I would say that there is enough variety in it where it didn't feel repetitive to me. It just felt like the issue compounding itself until it reaches this crescendo, which is very dramatic. And I personally felt that the plot twist was a bit of a surprise, although I have to admit I had seen the movie previously a long time ago, so I kind of knew where it was going. Um, and I think you also might have the benefit of this just being an older book, and you've seen so many similar stories since then that you could kind of piece it together on your own without having read it. Because that happens a lot with classic novels. Like if it's the first one to do something, or if it's just an early example of it, it was new back then and it was a surprise. But now there's been enough variations of it, you can kind of piece it together yourself. So I don't disagree with anything that you've really said, Allison. For me, none of it was really an issue. It's a 5-star book because it's just so well done. All right, one more. I couldn't even get through half of it. It was that bad. The writing style was ponderous and heavy, and the descriptions went on till the end of time. Or so it seemed to me. The narrator, a hypersensitive, socially awkward young woman, I deliberately refrain from the term lady, as she seems more like her husband's doormat, is hard to connect with. While the author early on tries to give a sense of mystery and foreboding, I personally thought that this was so badly done, it could all be chalked up as figments of the narrator's imagination. I mean, these are some pretty harsh words. I think in the previous review, I kind of stated why I disagree with a lot of this, but wait a minute. Look at who wrote it. You thought you were slick. All right, let's take a look at some reviews for A Simple Plan by Scott Smith. This was in the top 5 of books that I read last year. No, this was maybe my number, was it number 2, number 3, something like that. But I loved it. This was a thrill-a-minute, just absolute avalanche of terrible decisions that were super fun to read. I loved it. And let's see why these people did not love it. So we've got one here from Trudy. Hi, Trudy. This book was probably the most painful reading experience I have ever had. I actually finished it, more because of my own stubbornness than anything. You know, I think there's a lot of people in the world who only accomplish things because of their own stubbornness. So I guess that's kind of a blessing. I guess I would have to liken it to the first few weeks of American Idol, where the whole point is to show you the people that are really bad. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Trudy. I was reading this. I was like, "Is this about American Idol? This feels like it was inspired by American Idol." Oh God! All right, here's another one. Erin, 1 star. In the spirit of gearing up for Halloween, I recently read The Ruins and was pleasantly surprised by it. That reminds me, I still need to read The Ruins, and I really want to. I should do that this year. I thought it was suspenseful, with realistic character work, good pacing, and the horror element really worked. I hope you're right. I look forward to it. None of that is true for this book. The characters are all instantly unlikable and unsympathetic, and their actions and responses are unrealistic and insipid. Ooh. This is not the slippery slope of what can happen to ordinary people. This is what happens when a man with latent psychopathic tendencies is surrounded by morons and a lot of money. Skip it. Erin, I do fear that you have missed the point. I mean, you got halfway there. Like, yes, I think the idea is that you are supposed to go into this book like hearing the plot the first time, thinking, well, what's the problem? Like, it's easy. It's such a simple plan. How could it go wrong? The point of the book is to show you how it can go wrong because of just like how greed affects people's decision making. You know, the main character is not a latent psychopath. He is a dull, ordinary husband and new father. Like he's just like a guy. The whole point of this is just how impossible, crazy situations like this that are once in a lifetime opportunities can make us make these horrible decisions because we're afraid of losing it, you know, and so we go too far. So yeah, you're supposed to go into it thinking you would do better, and then at the end of it, it's supposed to create that flicker of doubt in your mind that like, maybe I wouldn't do better. So like, good for you. If you didn't have that flicker and you were just like completely staunch, then like fine, whatever. Um, but I do think that you weren't quite meeting the book where it wanted you to meet it. I think you weren't going to the book's level. You were not willing to. All right. Megan writes, I hated this book. It was so depressing. It was supposed to be in the spirit of Mice and Men, but it just came off as what greed can do to the human soul. There was nothing redeeming of this book. Yeah, there was nothing. This book had nothing redeeming about it. It was just about what greed does to the human soul. It was just about how we're all corruptible. It was, just like that. Nothing super interesting. Nothing really impressive. Nothing worth talking about. It was just about the human soul and its corruptibility. Also, was it supposed to be in the spirit of Mice and Men? Who said that? Lori Stoll writes, I was not impressed with this book. The author didn't do his homework. Here are a couple examples. A Simple Plan has a copyright of 1993. Page 130 says they named the baby on the way home from the hospital. It had been many years prior to this that naming a newborn and completing a birth certificate is required prior to leaving the hospital. Page 327 refers to being unable to withdraw funds from a bank because they were closed. Once again, by 1993, ATMs were widely used. I can't argue with you, Laura. You're right. This book is garbage. Just throw it out right now. All right, last one. And this one was my top book of 2 years ago. My favorite thing that I had read in 2023. Yeah. It's Boy's Life by Robert R. McCammon. This, similar to Ray Bradbury, very emotional book for me. Teared up multiple times reading it. Cried. I cried reading it. Didn't just tear up, tears fell. That's how involved I got with it. Let's see what these people have to say. Lisa Greer. Awesome first pages. Simply wonderful writing about the magic of childhood that rang so true with me and made me misty-eyed. This one looks like a winner. I agree. Just stop there. Darn. I was hoping this one would be good. It was a bit too much fantasy for me. I quit around page 160 when the boys sprouted wings. I was hoping for something a little more realistic, and that was it for me. I believe in the magic of childhood, but I don't think one must do fantasy for it to be a subject of interest. This drives me up a wall. I flipped through a few reviews, and I see several people who DNF'd this book because of this scene. When I posted my review of it on my channel, I got a commenter saying that they couldn't finish it because of that scene. It wasn't literal. It wasn't real. You think that really happened? You think that it was likely that Robert McCammon did not set up at all that these children could sprout wings and then suddenly springs it on you in one chapter? They do it, they have fun, and then they never do it again for the rest of the book? It's never brought up? You think that's what he meant? You don't think that it's possible that it was a metaphor? That it was a metaphor for the imagination of a child? That it's just like, that's what it feels like. That chapter, it's the last day of school, right? School is out, and the kids run, and they're so happy, and they've got their dogs with them, and they're talking about how, and then they sprout their wings, and they fly around. It's about the feeling of freedom. They're not real wings. They're metaphorical wings. It's about that feeling of playing unsupervised with all your best friends on a beautiful day, the first day of summer to a child's mind. That is when school lets out for that last day. Just no cares in the world. It feels like flying on the air, soaring on wings. That's what it is. It's not literal. Come on! What are we doing? Lisa, you're tagged here as an author. You should know better. Okay. I'm calm. I got a little frustrated. I got a little off the handle. Let's see what Winton has to say. Winton, I haven't read it yet, and I can't wait to, but I just got a feeling that I'm not going to care eventually. Winton, what the hell are you talking about? You haven't read it, you're giving it a 1 star because you think you're going to... He posted this 3 days before the pandemic shut the world down, by the way. Winton, we need the update. Winton, please update your review. We gotta know. Did you get through the pandemic okay? I hope you're fine. I hope you and your family are well. But did you like Boy's Life, more importantly? We've got Amanda Davenport checking in now. Mrs. Roller swore it would be the best book we ever read. I wouldn't go that far. It was okay, I guess. Poor Mrs. Roller getting called out. I do think that there is definitely something to be said about like when kids are forced to read these books, like teenagers are forced to read a book and it's told to them that this is going to be the best book you've ever read, or it's such an important book, because teenagers are by nature a little bit like contrarian, like they're trying to push back, find their own identity, and to agree with an adult isn't like cool. And it's just also in general, like they don't want to be reading these books. They don't want to be assigned reading, generally, for most kids. So I think anytime you have a school book like this, it's gonna lead to 1 star reviews. Even though, again, like you don't know how the star rating system works. If it was okay, give it 2 stars. Like 1 star is like, this is miserable. Like, come on, this is what Goodreads stinks. All right, last one from Ivy. Awful. So many plot points that are never brought up again. This is another one. I saw several 1 star reviews mentioning dropped plot points. What are you talking? What are these people talking about? The main storyline of this book is resolved pretty neatly, and like there's a lot of things that are set up that do pay off by the end of it. The only thing I could think of is that each chapter of the book is told in like a vignette style. Like it's not one straight singular narrative. It's stories that are vignettes of a year, basically. And there's clues to the main murder mystery like sprinkled throughout. So it's not really like that type of narrative. That's the only thing I could think of, is that like some of those vignettes don't come back into play. And they're not really like, again, it's about matching the book's energy. You need to realize that early on, that the precedent is set early, that this is going to be a vignette style narrative and not just a straight narrative. So you need to be ready to accept that. And if you're not, this is where we get these misunderstandings. So that's it. That was fun. That was interesting. Nobody changed my mind. I love these books each. I love them all. They're really great. I recommend all of them. Let me know what you think about these books that I selected. And let me know if you've seen any funny like 1 star reviews of books that you love. Just sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.